Hi guys. Hi Millie. Hey. Who else have we got? We've got Millie. I'm guessing we're going to have Evie. Having a Wagamamas probably. Yay! Mills and Evie. Hi Evie. Are you in Wagamamas today, Evie? Or are you actually joining us from the comfort of your own home? Oh, I love it. Lots of Millies. We're going to have a look at an inspector calls, which was requested by Ted. So I'm hoping if he's not joining us, he's going to be able to watch this later. So essentially, we've got an inspector calls for Ted. If Ted's here, hi Ted, this is for you. We're going to be looking at Sheila, and I'm hoping this is a couple of sessions in now where we're following this same framework all of the time, and we're following this idea of language analysis, that nice, simple 3-step process. And that's what we've got to sort of get our heads around. And I'm hoping that you're going to become more familiar with this now. This is going to be so much become easier for you to do, because it's always 3 simple steps. The first one is obviously I've got my quote. What's the literal meaning? What's actually being said here? Then we go with, and this is where you start getting those marks, picking out the words and phrases, breaking them down, more detail, really picking it apart. What does it make you think of? Why has it been used? What else could it suggest? So this is where the money is. And then it's linking that back to the text, back to what we were talking about, and making sure that we can talk about the characters or the themes. So 3 steps. And that's what we're going to do. Let's make a start. We are going to look at a quote from Sheila. And I picked this quote because you probably won't ever forget it. It's a really, really simple one to remember. Oh, it's wonderful. Look, mummy, isn't it a beauty? I mean, the fact that we've got someone in their 20s saying mummy is enough to make us remember. So we have, oh, it's wonderful. Look, mummy, isn't it a beauty? She's just getting engaged, and it's an interesting, it's not really kind of how we would speak. But essentially, step 1, literal meaning, she's excited. That's what's happening here. She's been given her engagement ring. Now, we know in terms of our context behind this, Sheila, really naive, really childish, but the most important character in that she changes throughout this play. And she isn't the same person at the end. And that's the key kind of thing about her. So she is really excitable, really naive, really childish at the beginning. It's also important to mention this idea that she's engaged, but she didn't have a ring. And now she has a ring, something materialistic. It feels real. She makes them think about, oh, now it feels really, really real, because she has to have that kind of material, but that's showing their social status. So we've got literal, excited about getting engaged. Then we're going to pick this quote apart, and obviously we've got to go with mummy. My 6-year-old called me mummy. It's lovely. But you do hit a point, normally from around maybe 11, 10, where you become mum. So for someone in their 20s to be saying mummy, we have this idea of how childish she is, but also that perhaps she's had a really sheltered life, perhaps that upbringing for her, that she calls them mummy and daddy, and that there isn't any other way. It's respectful to do that. So it does give us a bit of information. This is where it links to the theme, jumping to step 3, of social class here. And this idea that this is her upbringing and this is her social class and this is how she should speak, behave, etc. Okay. Then we're going to pick out the idea of wonderful and beauty. Now, essentially, I've written here, Wonderful and beauty are words that we associate with pleasure, with delight. If we like something, we're going to use the words wonderful and beauty. They're very positive. The connotations of those words are very positive. So we have to think about this idea that she's getting delight and pleasure. This is a wonderful, but it should be a wonderful experience. But she's actually just talking about the ring on her finger. It's all about the bling. I kind of see where she's coming from. So for her, this comes from material goods. It's not about getting married to Gerald. It's not about getting engaged and having a party. It's about the bling. Okay? So we link then again to this theme that actually she is very naive as a character because she values beauty. And remember, she's described as a girl, a pretty girl in her early 20s. She values the beauty of objects. She doesn't understand the financial kind of commitment that goes into buying that physical object. She doesn't have to worry about that. That's the man's job. Remember, context. Women are at home, the men are at work making the money. She's never had to really ever consider anything like that. She's from a very wealthy background. So in terms of like financial implications, it's nothing. All about the bling. And that is Sheila in a nutshell at the very, very beginning. And that is how she's shown. Now, a really nice thing to pick up from this quote again is our structure, because this really helps push you into that grade 7. Because we can talk about our language, but this quote's lovely for very simple structure. Because you can see, we've got lots of hyphens, lots of dashes. Now, normally that's kind of to show like a hesitation, but we're trying to, it's a play, so the speech has to be realistic here. And there's lots of sort of utterances and hesitations there. And the reason those dashes are there are just to show that uncontrollable excitement that she feels. Like she can't contain herself. She isn't able to kind of, okay, I'm really excited inside, but I'm going to hold it together and I'm going to keep it cool and it's all good. It just pours out everywhere. And she's kind of like not really knowing what she's saying. And it's wonderful. Look, oh, Mummy, where are you? Oh, isn't it a beauty? And there's lots of toing and froing. So in terms of structure, again, a really simple quote, but a lot of marks up for grabs for you talking about structurally how that's been put together. Okay, and then again, we're going to be linking this down to this theme of essentially the social class. So we have to think about why is Priestley doing this? If we want to get those high grades, we've got to think about writer's purpose. So why is he presenting her in this way? And he has to, because she, as I said, is the one character who really changes. She couldn't be more different. So it's like he exaggerates this naivety and this childishness at the beginning. So at the end, when she's completely different, it's like a totally different character because she is. She learns so much from the experience of the inspector coming into their home. So essentially, I think this is really clever, and I love the way he does this with Sheila, because by having her as this like really babyish person that we don't really like at the beginning, it's a bit like I don't really warm to her. Then we find out about her involvement with Eva and the fact that she just didn't like it because she was pretty and she looked better in something than I did. So like Mean Girls, hashtag, like she's a bit of a cow. So we're not a big fan of her at this point, but she changes. And it's that moment and it's the fact that we can go from disliking her to actually really respecting her. As an audience, we react to her. That's really important. So it's very clever of Priestley to do this because he highlights that change in character, because at the end, and I've written this down here, but you potentially can't see, what he actually does is she hands that ring back. She hands the ring back. And that's in the stage directions. So after everything that's happened with the inspector, she learns from the experience and she says, you're not the man I thought you were. None of us are the same people. I'm not going to be the same again. We're not getting married. That's it. Done. So she grows with such strength throughout this play that this quote is a lovely starting point for her of what she was like at the beginning and the journey she goes through. If you then want those high grades, back to the author, back to the purpose. So we've got to go, what's Priestley's overall message here then? So for Sheila, Sheila represents the hope for the future generations. Priestley, capitalist and socialist, we have to talk about that with this play. She begins very capitalist, money orientated, me. How does everything look? She ends socialist, concerned about how the way she behaves affects other people. And that's what Priestley is trying to do. This is his key message and the whole purpose of An Inspector Calls. This hope for change, that people become more socially aware. And this is what he wants to have happen with her. Her and Eric, the younger generations, are able to show hope and change for the future. The adults, not so much. Okay, so we have Mr. Burling, Mrs. Burling, Gerald, no responsibility. They accept nothing at any point. She does. So we end up going from hashtag mean girl to hashtag actually quite like her. And that's kind of how it flips in here. Sorry, I'm slightly distracted by something climbing up my leg. Somebody climbing up my leg. Not helpful. So I'm in a bit of carnage here. If you have any questions, drop me a line. But in a nutshell, that's the most important thing to know about Sheila. Remember, she changes from the beginning to the end. The ring is that lovely symbol of her materialistic kind of traits that links to her social class. The fact that she gives that thing she values more than anything, that physical object back, shows how much she's grown. And that's Sheila. And that's An Inspector Calls. Bit of depth analysis. Now, Ted, that was for you. So I hope that was useful. The rest of you, if there's anything else you want, we've got, I think, 2 weeks, possibly 3 more sessions before you guys go back to school. So if there's anything specific you want in the next couple of sessions, let me know and I'll put that together for next week. Evie, I know you wanted some poetry. I have a feeling that's going to be the one subject that's going to be dropped by your school. So we'll hold fire on that for now. But if there's anything specific, I can do more in Inspector Calls. I could do something completely different. It's entirely up to you. We now have another cat joining the session. It's literally like a zoo in here at the moment. It's been an absolute pleasure, guys. As always, lovely to see you all there, and I hope you're all staying well. I hope that was helpful. Please like, share, tell people. We need to spread the word because I really want to be able to help, especially in September, people going back to school who are freaking out, okay? You're welcome, Millies. You are so welcome, okay? Any questions, drop me a message, go through my Facebook. It's normally easier, and you can message me through Gems English Gems on Facebook. But tell everybody, and I'll see you next week if I do not see you all before. Okay? Bye, guys.